a bit quicker of a call. We want to be respectful of members as well as the admin's time. And there really isn't much to say. Are we recording, by the way?
I just started to stream. Yeah.
Okay. Should I do that spiel all over again?
No, I got it. I actually got the start.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't have too much to say here. We've been at least discussing the game plan for the bear market rally bounce, basically backbreaker type move for this has been game planned like 2 months in advance, right? Like, hey, we're gonna bounce, Bitcoin bottom quickly. There's gonna be a bounce and then a slow retrace, like all the way back. That's gonna fucking kill everybody. And this starts to happen mid-August and runs into mid-September. And if you look where we are, we're at September 2nd. Obviously, the retrace has already begun. Um, and yeah, this time of the year is not great. It's not great for anything. And Bitcoin looks like it potentially will run the low, I think. I think it will. It'll get close, most likely. And but I think F goes to around 900 to 1,000. And you could get crazy wicks, like a crazy daily where like I mean we've seen it before where stuff goes down like 30-40% in a day. I wouldn't rule that out. But in general, like in the upcoming week and a half, you're probably going to want to start loading spot position. Like with leverage, it's going to be very dangerous and tricky because the bounces it'll get like super volatile. It'll be tough to like catch. It's better to wait for it to settle a bit and try to knife catch that. Like you can try to do bounces like and get like a nice 10%, 20% move really quick, like in one candle, and then just close it and wait for the retest. But as far as spot is concerned, I think our time is coming, boys. So hopefully, like yeah, like I don't think this week is going to be good at all. I think it's going to be bad, and hopefully that's a good thing. Like I'm excited for that because for me, I think like wherever this dip ends, that's it. I think that's it, and it's not. We're not just going to shoot up to the moon, but it'll basically be like the true beginning of like an uptrend that can last, years, really. And there will be additional shakeouts, like back up and then down another 50%. Like it's going to do that a lot, but overall, like I think like if you're an investor, like this is like representing the move that's coming will represent like the golden entry. So, that was the game plan. So far, it's following it. We had the Vitalik's dick fractal play out, which I hadn't given any consideration, but then I saw Messi post, who I love, a great guy, but he posted like Vitalik's Ethereum pumping off of Vitalik's giant dick is like the funniest thing ever, and just like it randomly popped into my head. It was like, oh yeah, this is like kind of like Romano eating ass. Like, and I'm like, when was that? I feel like that was like the last bounce before capitulation, and then we were talking about it, and it was like, I'm pretty sure. So then I Googled it, and it happened that like the Vice article in 2018. So like it's quite an interesting fractal as far as like the timing and like the emotions of the market. It's like it didn't this bounce was just like a bounce making a lower high. It wasn't like we like broke any level. We didn't even come close to the range high. It was a nice bounce, but people were really excited, and that was the narrative being used. It was very similar. So it's just a little bit not banking on that, but it's just a further piece of confluence for me. Like stuff like that, I pay attention to, and it's it it's just it just appears to be bearish price action at this point. So yeah, we're looking at BTCD adjusted. It's been going down, but it doesn't. It's like making a flag here. So I don't have. I'm away right now, so I don't have my computer. But And I bought a new computer, so when I get home, it'll be good. Start doing some more streaming and shit. But BTC adjusted, hit 50.84 ish, around 50, I would say, and bounced up. And it's been making, this is technically a bull flag. And what you want to watch for is if this breaks 54, it's going to run up. It'll run up to like probably 58 at least. So, if it breaks 54 and Bitcoin's going down, that's like your super bearish indicator, in my opinion. So I would definitely watch for that. I think that's going to happen.
If it hits 54 and Bitcoin keeps going down, that means the market cap will have almost gone down by a third. So we're talking about a market cap that's around 600 billion instead.
Is that where it would be?
Are you sure? I mean, it's at 53 right now. It's just 1%. It's like it's been at.
I'm looking. I'm looking at the wrong one. So I'm looking at just USDT.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
USDT.
All right, I was looking at just BTCD. All right.
I was looking at the adjusted BTCD, and that's like the 54 level makes sense on that one because that's where the 21 weekly sits, which has been respected twice now over the past days as resistance.
Yeah,
it's the same.
But you're right. It's also not breaking down, and it could be in a bull flag below it right now. Totally.
Yeah. So like,
should I like quickly share my screen so people can see that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll do that real quick.
We could look at it together.
See if Chris, you can jump on it.
Yeah, I'm switched over.
Does that work? I got it on the white screen right now.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, structurally, it looks exactly the same as what I'm looking at. So yeah, basically, like if the top of this breaks, you're probably it can go a bit higher, definitely.
I can also pull up the stables real quick. You had the USDT one, right? Where are they?
Yeah, and I think like the way the market works is like if that breaks, then you'll have other things breaking like in different directions that would, further solidify the fact that that's not good. Like that would break with Bitcoin breaking support and breaking down out of this way.
That looks much more like a bull flag. Yep. And it's, I mean, we shared the warning down here, right, on the 2 weeks ago on the call, right when it hit when the stable coins hit the DMAs and the breakouts, basically. That was when we shared the warning.
That chart that you have right there.
Yeah, they all look very similar, right? This is the compounded one with stables like USDC and USDT together. Looks pretty bullish.
Yeah. This can go like all the way up to the top of that, like even higher than that.
I mean, it could break out, right? That would mean new lows on everything. New lows on everything.
It's not. I can't rule it out, but I don't
know.
think so. I think we might take the low. I think Bitcoin is going to take the lows, and the charts that are mimicking Bitcoin on the altcoin side, like Cardano, and there were some others. Like there's plenty of them that look like Bitcoin. Like those are going to take the lows out, and then you'll have the stronger stuff might slightly take them or retest the bottom of those. Like F, like I don't see F going to like $500 or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen. But something like Cardano might blow the lows too. Like so, like I don't know where the bottom on Bitcoin will be, but I don't think it's. I mean, I don't know. Like I wouldn't rule out like a big dip, and if it does, then I guess I'm wrong about F, and F will probably dip too. So I guess you got to see. But for me, I think F will probably retest the bottom of the range, like between 900 and 1,000. Like that seems like it'll be about enough. It's just more bullish than Bitcoin. But I guess we have to see. Depends on what this thing does. But in general, I really don't think it for now. But I'm excited about the dip that's coming. That's pretty much all I had to say.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think. What do you think about going to this merge though? 'Cause it's really soon.
13.
Yeah,
Same
it's bullish.
day as CPI now.
It's bullish.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy. Around the CPI time. Oh my god.
it's bullish unless the merge gets canceled. You know, something weird happens.
I don't think it will.
Fuck.
Everything worked on testnet so well.
Fucking F, man. Like anything is possible with these shits. But yes, so that if it doesn't get canceled, then it's great. This is like a beautiful chance to get some F and benefit from the merge. I think it's bullish. I think it's just like it's just going to inject additional capital into that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's what worries me a little bit. If it's really successful and there's external FOMO and we break the 1 trillion cap again and the market's not really ready for that, the dump after that is going to be spectacular.
Yeah, I think we need. I mean, we got to look at. See, the thing is, like looking at SPX.
I think the regarding like that, I think the more extreme this backbreaker gets before the merge happens, the less likely it is that the big dump comes afterwards, and vice versa.
Yeah, what worries me about the structure is that we haven't flattened out at all. I mean, we usually get into market apathy. That usually denotes the market bottom, where people just keep on exiting because nothing's going on. It's flat. It's over. Those kind of narratives. Those narratives aren't even here yet. I mean, I haven't seen it's over yet, except jokingly inside the dojo. But on Twitter, people are just patiently waiting. While they're patiently waiting, the market's not ready to bottom out.
I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of that, and also I still do a lot. Like really, I do.
Yeah, I disagree.
I mean, do you with like growing like mass adoption of this whole market, do we ever see like it's all over for the world on the S&P, like really flattening out? Sometimes, right? Like after the .com bubble, you had a phase like that.
Yeah, the huge swan events. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
The reason why I doubted this bounce to continue was because we only spent like 4 weeks at the low.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Spend more.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
So now we spent what 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks going up. Now we're spending 4 weeks going down. So like when you put that together, when next week happens and it's probably going to go lower, like now you spent 3 months.
Okay, but the last macro bottoms that we've had on the market have lasted like almost 2 years.
Well, but like Ethereum pumped 300% over that period and then dropped again, stuff like that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. There were spikes, but
that doesn't really that would still go well with a good opportunity. Like 2019 had like 2 really nice seasons in it, for example. Yeah. Although we didn't, end up breaking all-time highs and stuff like that, and it got very dangerous, and people got absolutely obliterated on those later retraces before the real takeoff came. So yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at just the last macro cycle that was, from March 2018. But after the dead cat bounce, not even the complacency after the dead cat bounce, where people just couldn't deny anymore that it was between quotes over. So March 2018, I mean that bear market, that bear cycle went until June of 2020. Now, obviously, it might have restarted earlier. It might have restarted a year later in May 2019. But then we got. After that first peak and slow sideways chop, we got the COVID, which pretty much delayed everything. But if you look at the previous cycle before that, I mean, it was pretty much another 2-year thing as well.
I got to go to Bitcoin for that one, for the previous.
Yeah, that's true.
I think like that has been downtrending for almost a year now. And that's like for the second peak.
So yeah, like just basically this right? This was like a good time, for example,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it lasted like a couple of months.
And the one before that was June 14 to November 16, where it flattened out for 2 years. You know, made that big ass bowl where it didn't give all that much hope. You know, just maybe enough, but for a few.
Oh, what year? Because here it's just like half a year of flattening out, and then it basically just goes into full bowl the cycle before 2017.
Yeah, like what I think will happen is
It's not that long. It's like two nasty lows, about half a year apart, and then it just goes up again.
Yeah,
This
well,
2014 cycle.
okay. I'm looking at it when when the bear is confirmed to when the bull is confirmed, and yes, of course, it's making a bull there, but the point still remains that it's not 2 months. You know, none of these bottoms lasted just 2 months.
No.
Yeah. So like, I don't think I don't think you could just like buy like wherever this dip stops, and then like you'll be rich in like a month. Like
Yeah.
like I just mean like pretty much like the spot buys that you make on this dip, like you can probably bag hold those most likely.
And you know, I think this has more to do, you know, with human nature than it does cycles. I think, you know, it takes a while for people to forget enough to get to jump back into the market. Because whether you like it or not, yeah, there's a lot of new people in this market, but there's also a lot of old people that come back from the previous cycles that got burnt before and that just saw people getting rich again, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to give it another shot." After
I actually find it amazing how quickly that cycles through in crypto.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's like, I mean, 2 years is not much in a person's life,
Yeah.
and apparently that's enough to get greedy enough again.
Yep.
After you got burned or feel the FOMO. Maybe it's because the market is so immature that new capital comes in quicker, so that can like change a trend, and then the like people that are hurt are more inclined to dive in again because of that, and that can't really happen on like a saturated stock market. Maybe
it's all those millennials and Generation X, Y, and Z that are that have ADHD. So
The XY still looks bullish. Yeah, this is going higher. Like SPX, I'm gonna wait till we hear from Xavi, but it seems like the 200 weekly has a magnet on it.
I don't know if Xavi's going to be able. I don't know if Xavi's going to be able to display though, because I think he's got some computer issues.
Anyway, yeah, I don't want to drone on, but yeah, I mean, just
KJ, that MA is probably there at 3,400s, right?
on SPX 500, it takes the low. It takes the low. It's at like 35.75.
Oh, it's a bit high.
So like, yeah, so you can even like, it can like fuck around below there for a couple weeks even, and then reclaim it, and then that'll be good. But yeah, like just to reiterate, like I think this is probably going further down. Bitcoin essentially taking the lows, F going to 900 to 1,000. Then, you know, F probably recovers before Bitcoin, faster at least. So, like, I like that play spot. You know, I think you got to be a little bold if this move happens. It's going to be very, very scary, and probably really start to ramp up this week, the end of this week. You know, sometime towards the middle of the month, you probably get like the best entries. That's what I'm looking at. Bitmonk says, I think we could see another NFT cycle before the rest of the market goes into the new bull.
I think you have to wait till after the merge for the NFT cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bitman was on the same page with that. He actually, like, he was suggesting that
The NFTs go first.
that a play that could outperform playing the merge, like the fork for the fork tokens, could be picking up reg blue chip NFTs just before the merge date. Like instead of holding all your Ethereum for the fork tokens, buying, like exchanging some of it for NFTs, which you forgo the fork tokens, but you could get like the craziest capitalization spike, basically the lowest level on those, and then you can ride a high multiplier. And I think he wasn't suggesting doing like an all-in move with that, but spreading out some ETH into that, like I don't know, CloneX or stuff like that.
I think you want
I
the fork
think
tokens.
yeah. I mean, I think it has a chance to outperform that. And you could still, like, if you have the fork tokens, they probably get dumped in the beginning and then they sell off and make like a small accumulation range. And then you could probably still do that trade too, right? Where you just
It
buy the
works for
fork
like
tokens for a pump.
I think for like in the lower time frame, if you pull it off perfectly, and like assuming you'll be able to find the buyer and all that,
Yeah, that's
get
true.
what you
That's true.
want.
That's added
Like
difficulty with the NFTs. That's very good
like
consideration. Yeah.
I remember waiting for like the Bitcoin Cash fork, and like when as soon as the snapshot happened, like alts pumped, they pumped like 10-20%, something like that. And then Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin just like outperformed them like for like a month. Like either or. So like maybe you could do that, but like I think like after there will be like pumping on both of the coins. So like if you're like if you don't trust yourself to be that humble and like make the right decisions like perfectly, like I think it's just a safer play to just like have the F, in my opinion, and the fork token. It's just like an easier move. It could be right. I mean I don't know. I could just see a scenario where like F goes on a nice run, like structurally the chart starts to look. It puts in like a nice move where like you get like a sweep, and then it starts to reverse, and then you have like F proof of work pump. It'll probably dump right away too, but like that might be. I think you probably make more money buying that than NFTs, in my opinion. Like both of them should make a nice pump. Like the people that have like a shitload of F, they're gonna want to maximize like on both. But we'll see, I guess, right? Like I think after that's done, like there's gonna be like a period where like minutes versus NFTs, altcoins probably is strong, and that could last, probably. But it would be that would be the opportunity time. I don't think it's like I think we're looking at everything as like looking for that one moment, like the 1 minute candle, the 1 hour candle. Like I think there's going to be plenty of time to like pivot, reallocate, and such. Um, it should be all right.
So since I'm streaming already, should I go through a couple of charts, or the Cardi, do you want to go first?
I'll just do Bitcoin quick. It's
That's
I'm
all right. That's
pretty
okay.
much just reiterating what KJ
Let me
said.
just stop sharing.
So this is the daily. We've marked out these levels before in other streams. You can go find them. I think this might be support right here if we dump this whole area right here. I think this is support. So just take out the lows and then bounce it back up. Yeah. Is there any point in trading today or tomorrow? Probably not. Labor Day weekend, I wouldn't touch it. Unless you're already in positions or whatnot. I'm still accumulating certain alts, like I told you guys, Solana. I'm still running that spread trade. I'm gonna hold this spread trade months probably. Don't care that it's sold off. I think it's an uptrend. I'm gonna keep buying it. And I'm gonna hold it for a long time. But yeah, Bitcoin's heavy. There's no other way to put it. Especially it sucks that we finished with stocks going into this weekend here. Sucks that we finished stocks like so heavy. And the market is still like pretty scammy, right? Like we keep seeing it like with the lifts and whatnot. The only time I'm actually putting size in the markets is on news. And on Friday I got fucked on the NFP, but whatever. It happens. If you're gonna put the most size you put in the market is on news, and it comes in bearish and it still pumps. What the fuck you gonna do? You know? I'll make it back, but yeah, we're just hovering at the lows here. Not much else to say. It's fucking bullshit range. Not even that crazy of a range. We've seen bigger ranges before, like 5%. Nothing crazy. The only reason this market hasn't completely sold off is because like this ain't bad. Like this is so strong. This thing, right? Like the equivalent of Bitcoin. It's like what? Like Bitcoin's like kind of already here, whereas ETH is just hanging
Oh,
out here.
Bitcoin's like lower. Bitcoin,
Yeah,
Bitcoin's it's hanging on by a thread. Bitcoin, Sol, Phantom,
yeah.
Sushi. There's a bunch of charts that look like they're gonna break the low. So like maybe, I mean, I guess like I don't know. Like this is what I said was what I think is gonna happen, but maybe not. Like I don't know. We would need some sort of miracle pump like on
Like
Bitcoin because
we're at resistance on the ETH BTC chart. If this breaks out though, this market's gonna absolutely like the alts are gonna absolutely tear. And I don't know if you guys are trading alts, but like they never nuke. Like they
what do
don't
you mean?
nuke like they just slow bleed. Like it's like you never get like a massive nuke anymore. There's always buyers. People are still buying into the merge, saying like
I
there's gonna
think
be more upside.
I think it's coming this week, bro. The
Good,
massive nuke I think is coming.
good,
It's been a while since we had one of those.
good. Because I want all my alt accumulating bids to fill, and then I just hold them forever.
There you go. That's the move.
But the weekly here looks like shit, eh? Like it's rejecting our lines on chart here. So what? It's gonna come down to 18K or whatnot, maybe 16K, maybe it makes new lows. I don't know. And then we'll see what happens from there. But again, the merge, the only thing that's gonna keep this market alive, at least Bitcoin alive, is ETH. ETH is the one that's running the market. We already know that. And if we close like this, like we close like that here, and then we had three AC, so like that's a different story here. But like if we close the week like this, who the fuck knows what comes next? It looks like we'd have the KJ scenario there, but I don't know. Like there's only two things that Bitcoin follows: ETH, and it follows this this thing. So this is at major support, right? Like 3,900. 3,900 goes is coming down here. It'll probably go to this, like 36. But you'll see on Twitter people just calling for like what 1,800. That won't happen while like you're alive. It won't go below like this high. I'm pretty sure of it. 3,400. I don't think it will. Right before Corona crash, I don't think it will. But if it were to go low, and don't forget, like if it went that low, like for sure, go and it happens quick. Sorry, for sure, going into the midterms, they're gonna step up and do something to save it. So you like, there's so many like political factors right now that are coming in. It's just across the board. It's just like so much uncertainty in the world. Like we've never seen this before. And you're gonna see like people saying, "Oh, there's gonna be like a crash to here." Like, not like this crash won't ever happen again unless there's a black swan event. It would slow bleed. It might look like this on a chart, but it wouldn't be like the velocity that we saw on the day of Corona crash. That was just absolutely insane. So yeah, but it'll never go to this low again. Not a chance. And like I'm confident saying that. And that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I don't have much left to say. I'm still accumulating. I'm still looking for spread trades. Still doing like if you're not like a day trader and you don't know what to do, like now is the best time to DYOR. Now it's like because when there's a bull market, one day, like no one DYORs. Like you're just aping into everything. Like now is the time to DYOR. Like now's where like you find some fucking coin that you're willing to DCA on because you feel like it's gonna go like 10,000x and no one's talking about or some shit like that. Like now's the time to do your research if you want to sit on your hands. rather than play the market. Like I don't know, someone told me about this fucking coin the other day. I never heard of it, which I can't believe, and it's on Kraken, so it means it's like passes U.S. compliance. It's called like EWT. I'm not saying I'm gonna buy it, but
Well,
like
that's like the energy thing.
Energy web.
yeah,
Yeah, energy
Yeah,
web.
we talked about it like for a while.
Yeah, we actually had it on our original list, I think, but it was an underperformer.
yeah, like this thing looks like shit. Okay,
Market cap, it's like starting market cap was very high on it.
it's like
I think
170.
on KuCoin you can find a way like a chart that goes way more back.
And like
Yeah,
I'm not saying,
there you go.
I'm not saying to buy this
Oh, it's
token.
actually the same.
I'm not saying to buy this token because I've never done any research on it. But like the only reason I brought this out is because some guy pointed out to me yesterday. I never heard of it. So like I'm sure a lot of us are gonna hear about random coins now and then that people are bag holding and they're trying to show it to you. But it's worth like if you're not trading, it's worth like doing research on these coins and seeing like would this narrative hold water in the next cycle and will I make a ton of money on it? I'm not saying EWT. I'm just giving an example of what someone told me. And if these coins already exist and they have like a cycle that no one's really ever heard about because they're only on like KuCoin or
Well, hold on. It's hardly no one ever heard about. It's like one of favorite Chico crypto coin. Like he shields it every other week.
or whatever. I've never heard of it. So,
Even
Yeah,
says that
yeah,
Elon
like it's
Musk is behind it and stuff like that. Like he's a heavy shieler of it.
the example.
Just an example.
We
Just an
get
example.
the example though.
Yeah, so like you're gonna see if you have coins that are like in my mind, if there's a coin that's like KuCoin listed, Uniswap, it's like a bit tough to see like to say it's going to be around forever. But let's say like it's KuCoin listed, and it's down like 90%, and it's not on Binance, but you do your research and it's like you think, wow, this is like a decent like token. Okay, again, like forget about this piece of shit. I'm just not going to show it anymore.
It's like
But like,
it's like DAG. You want to find the next DAG.
yeah, yeah,
basically.
and you think it's gonna be like, yo, one day this thing's gonna fucking rip. I just have to sit on it after I did my research, even though it's listed on only KuCoin, not Binance or anything else. Like now's the time to find those coins in this like shitty chop, like bearish market, and like decide what you want to do.
Oh,
Like, I
speaking
see
of,
sometimes in, so I'm just gonna say my last thing. I see sometimes in trading questions, I see a lot of members post these coins I've never heard of before, and like pretty soon I'm gonna start doing like even me, I'm gonna start doing research on these things because I've never heard of them before, and I'm like, let me see what's out there, you know. So and then you end up going down a rabbit hole, and that's like the best. This is the best time to do it is in bear market, like I said, because in bull market there's no time for it. You're just aping.
Actually, like I got a thought on that. A couple of months ago, I saw somebody say on Twitter, like some DeFi person, um, those people who are willing to do most of their trading and work on chain for the next cycle would be very much rewarded for doing that. And
I agree, but you just don't know which coins are gonna rug or not if they're not on like a centralized exchange. Right?
sure, but like on chain, it doesn't have to mean like Ponzi shitcoins. So as time went on, I'm starting to see like why that's very valid. First, you have like the roll up layer 2 narratives going on, and that was pretty obvious how like stuff on OP or Arbitrum worked out really well, although there was some seasonality to that, I think. And then you have stuff like Fold, for example, which has been holding super strong. So you have those like merge plays that could have legs, like really significant legs, because like the sole block producer narrative, I think, is pretty strong for the next Ethereum generation. I think it's interesting because in a raging bull market, as the top gets closer and closer, I think doing everything on chain has its own dangers. You're probably not like margin trading yourself to death on the way down, but you don't have stop losses, stuff like that. You can get clunky. You're not very nimble, or less nimble, and there might be other psychological hurdles than just pressing the red button on a centralized exchange to reorganize all your wallets, get everything to stables, stuff like that. But times like this, when we're advocating some type of like scaling into the market and after we had very, very volatile drawdowns, let's assume another volatile drawdown is ahead, like KJ suggested. Then following that, the risk reward ratio of doing a lot on chain and buying on AMMs, and doing your research on stuff that lives in that realm, I think could be very, very profitable. And I'm using the EWT example again here. EWT probably still has a pretty high market cap, and I think the stuff. It's very likely that the stuff that you find that's quote unquote the next stag or has like a multiplier like that in it, you'd probably find that on chain. Or you find more of those on chain than on centralized exchanges right now. And then if you're really, really right with what you picked, then you can ride the pump when those get listed on centralized exchanges, right? That's always the best. We had that with several things in the last bull market.
Cough, Doge chain, cough.
Yeah, Doge chain. I was not thinking about Doge chain at all in this case. I was more thinking about Ethereum actually, and like the layer twos.
Arbitrum.
But like it's actually valid. Like Doge chain is one of those things that's still so small that the whole thing is very, very asymmetrical in terms of how much you put in and how much returns you could expect if the whole thing survives into the next cycle and then finally gets its proper own.
I think sentiment is also perfect because like people already hate Doge chain.
Oh yeah, they do the sentiment pretty good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It was only out for like a week and like people already hated it. So like I love to see that. It reminds me of BSC because in the beginning people fucking hated BSC too, and CT wasn't on any of those pumps. So you might start to see the same thing with Doge chain.
Yeah. I read interesting stuff about BSC today, where somebody was suggesting that BSC is actually still the dominant L1 besides Ethereum, and I think that's correct, and it is also very much in line with BNB's own strength against Bitcoin and also against Ethereum at many times. I think that's also something to keep in mind, that BSC might not be done. Aside from Polygon, I think they're the only major layer, like alternative layer one, that's been actively developing rollups and ZK. So there might be another BSC season in the tank also in the future. So I found that pretty interesting because personally I hadn't much considered that yet. There's obviously, it's like a very, very thick jungle, right? Because the activity on there has been so high and never really stopped. So there are so many trash things on there that could cloud your view. But yeah, you also got Binance on there, and the thread was talking about how Binance is still the dominant centralized exchange and how it's their layer one of choice, and they make the whole on ramp, off ramp onto BSC relatively easy. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. I haven't looked into like any specifics, like what there is on BSC that I think could do well, but I want to do that. But yeah, that would also be on chain, and it's scary. Like I don't like it that much. But as I said, I think after the large drawdowns is a better time to try and delve into those scary endeavors rather than when you still have a lot of height to fall from. Okay, let me actually, Cardi, are you finished with your section already?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, good. Then I didn't interrupt for like too long. Let me just pull up my screen real quick. So the widescreen works, right? It's not too bad on the screen capture.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a bit blurry on my end, but you can see the chart. You just
Yeah,
can't see
that's
the price
probably
levels.
that will probably also, that won't change if I move my screen. I think move it. Sometimes it does that. I don't know why. It's not my internet anymore. Must be Discord. So yeah, we already talked about the stablecoins. They do look like they could break out here. That's a pretty bullish formation here at the end. The whole thing looks kind of like a bull flag. Actually, if we draw the trend line, it's probably also reg retesting. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it is. So yeah, faked out, and now that could lead into that scary red week that KJ was talking about here as well. This wasn't drawn correctly, right? Like that, like that. Same thing. And just USDC looks a lot like the compounded one. Yeah. So yeah, looks like bull flags breaking out. And that's a child bull flag on top of a big bull flag that corrected for a couple months. So the expansion there, I think on the USDT chart, I had like kind of a C fog, yeah. And the target for that would be this area. I think we talked about this last week because I put like 2 alerts here leading into that. That's a technical 0.618 retracement after a CFOC breakout from the low. And the technical target is like usually once the pattern emerges and breaks out, that's where it at least hits. And then you can consider that whole technical structure as fulfilled, and then it can stop and go down again, or it can continue upwards, of course, but that's the main target of it. I'm sure Chris will look at total. It's been consolidating below the fan here, which is a bit different than what we've seen here, right? Where it was very quick, just touch and go. We've seen it the other way around, and then it broke down again, but it hasn't spent so much time, like not as here as it did here. Like if it's curling up to it, I would think it could still break out, but currently with that rejection, it doesn't look like that. It's a pretty fucked up wave on Bitcoin too. It's difficult to read. Big rejection. That looks like a bear flag, right? And lows to breaking down. It was actually not bad, that line. That's around where it sits. Actually, it's probably a bit worse. We do it correctly. Yeah, it's more like that. All like that. Anyways, it's on the wrong side of the line right now. And total tree, I don't pay too much attention to, actually. Ethereum dominance is almost the same as Ethereum BTC at the moment, so also not that interesting. I don't want to do this. BTC weekly, if it closed like this, that's actually not the worst, right? You know how we like the candles that have absolutely no wick and then the pump, and a candle like that with an inverted hammer on the weekly, that's actually not too bad. Usually not what we see before it does stuff like this. So that's like something that would make me less surprised if this ends up breaking upwards anyways. The weekly structure here, but the weekly isn't printed yet, right? Like it could, if the day continues to go like it has until now, then this could close red, and then yeah, it'll probably drop. So let's watch this. That's what's that, like 8 hours, 7.5 hours from now it closes. So let's keep track of that. But like overall, that's more similar to this 2018 backbreaker thing, where it retraces pretty hard, has no wick. Like I don't want to do a fractal here, right? But this is just like I just found it with my bare eyes right now. Does the steep retrace after the first big bounce at the lows, right? Then it comes down again. This one took 2 weeks instead of one. Prints that candle and then does the inverted hammer thingies and lower volatility, more compression. If we see that over the next weeks, that would be pretty positive, I think. And as the weekly is currently looking, that could happen, but the weekly could get ruined over the next half a day until it closes. But that's the daily. It's kind of bad, but also looks like this could be a backbreak of that. I'm not sure yet. The lows have been defended. That looks also very attractive to get, even if it wants to go up, to get swept. And then we have that original like scenario we put in when we were back up here. That we were saying an attractive trigger for going higher risk would be if the whole low gets swept and then it comes back in, retests, and starts to go. So that's still something like we had in mind for a while now. And if we see that, which would probably be an option if what Jake talked about happens this week, then that would be an option. We can move that bit to the side. That will also tap the 1600s region. So we got that. Thinking about like a different scenario, like this is difficult to read. I was saying it reminds me a little bit like the way it refuses to go down and keeps testing the highs. This last bit not so much, but I was posting these charts in margin chat talking to Jake earlier. It reminds me a little bit of this low we made before the big bear flag. Where is it? I think it's this one. We go on the owl for that. No, it was actually even lower time frame apparently. I think I saw something that was higher time frame than that. Weird. Maybe that was an Ethereum. Okay, I'm not satisfied with that. No, that's not it. Sorry, I can't find it. Well, the point I wanted to make was sometimes it like breaks a flag and then it does this weird thing where it just hangs out below a level and then pumps out of it. But for that to be the case, it's probably still too high. Like it's not hanging out below a major level right here, and the high is not quite defined. The low is defined much better and much more attractive to sweep. So I think if we see that, it's more likely to happen here, right? With this very, very clearly defined level, you break that, take anybody out who tries to get in and put the stop below there, or you see that happening here. So let's watch out for that. That usually only takes a couple of hours though. Doesn't give too much time. So yeah, currently it looks more like downside than upside on this one. And Ethereum, looks like another bear flag overall, but the GAN pattern is still not broken. Keeps holding on all the 4 hours. So once that goes, I would also assume bear flag breakdown likely, but currently it's already, structurally it's already kind of bearish retesting. Inversely, this gets above, like, let's not pay too much attention to this line because it just went through, over all this time. Like, it's not obviously not being respected. It did, it was respected in the past a little bit, but and here, of course, when I drew it, but it's not being respected in this wave. So we'll have to probably get back into here, and then you can assume that the whole flag is just a shakeout and wants to go back up again. Currently, also looks more like downside. Ethereum BTC also broke back below the fan, which is pretty bad. This is actually the most bearish thing I've seen for Ethereum so far, like more like the USD chart right now. It needs to wave above here for further upside. This is not good, especially this past, it's dojo call time, right? Most fucked up candles happen while we're talking. So this is a bad candle if it goes like this in 1 hour. Let's see. Yuck. So if that happens and Bitcoin goes down, then yeah, Ethereum goes down a lot. Probably retraces a lot of the whole pump. Like, it doesn't even have to. We drew this like big box for like a new wave after the breakout. It doesn't have to nuke all the way back down. But if Bitcoin goes down and Ethereum loses, what's that? An additional 10, make it 12%, right? Maybe a little bit lower to the MA. Really fuck everybody up. It's another 12%. And let's see where that takes us. And then BTC does the nasty version, where it also goes 13, so that's 25. Let's see if that makes sense. It's about 1,100. Give and take. Looks like that could happen. That would look super bearish. And then give a little bit more, go to the Gantt fan. And then you got Jake's target too. And everybody would think it goes to 500 if it goes there, I think. Man, that would look ugly. How would that look? Like that? Maybe? Yeah. Um, so let's see if that comes. I think that would be a combination of Ethereum BTC getting very scary. And remember when we were here and we were thinking, oh, this goes down, I was saying we've seen people saying it goes all the way back down or even goes lower. But what would be really suiting for the way this whole wave was shaped to make another fucked up wave here, which so far it absolutely did, right? This is wild. This is very, very uncomfortable. Unless you're like sitting in Ethereum versus BTC from down here and are chilling. But like entering here, very, very, very difficult. Going on the daily also shows why I think that that's still a bullish structure though, right? You had a pretty clearly defined triangle breakout here. You had the yin and yang. The yang was the absolute bear trap on the whole structure. And now you are printing a consolidation after the breakout from the structure. So I think that that's potentially very, very bullish. And if it comes back into the bear trap, it probably nukes it, and it's very, very bad. And that's like, I don't know what, that would be the absolute most bearish outcome for the whole market, and would probably take a long time to heal that. It's currently not what I am finding the most likely, though. I think that this is a bullish structure, even if it does what we just talked about. I think the structure is very, very good. The VIX is back in that more broader uptrend after a very, very swift revisit of the 20s level. didn't spend much time in the zone that I would consider good for healthy uptrends on risk assets. That bounce was pretty strong, and you could consider that retest. The daily candle was pretty weak though. I've seen stuff like this sell off and at least test the wick again. So I'm curious how that plays out on Monday. Like VIX could start the week relatively weak, and then maybe do the retest and go if it wants to get scary. But that candle I don't find so strong despite the bounce. That's more like, you know, how like there's a story in candlestick charting, and the story here is that there were sellers, a lot of sellers in the VIX on Friday, despite Friday being such a bad day. So that probably happened late. The bounce back happened late. There were sellers initially. That's interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of that. The sellers were there though, right? So that's why don't find that candle particularly strong. In the weekly,
I think the sellers were earlier in the day,
yeah,
and
there
then
was.
and then you had like it was just like the way that day went was
But
pretty nasty. It
but
was a nasty move.
that's also not a particularly bullish weekly candle though. So the
Yeah,
weekly candle actually paints
like
a similar story to the daily in that case.
part of why I'm thinking F and BTC close these weeklies red at the very least, like it's like if you look at SPX 500 weekly, that's like there's no doubt about that one.
I mean, in theory, that could still be like, you know, be this, right? Although I'm less confident in that with the close below the Gantt fan. That's not good. So I think that the likelihood for that is lower than for this. But like the structure itself is, if this holds, if like, you know, this candle isn't enough, you need more, that you need to see more than that. You need to see like some kind of reaction to the upside. But if that comes, that's actually one of the most reliant bullish patterns that we have.
Yeah. If listen, if this level holds, yeah.
Yeah. It's like too early. Like currently, it looks more like it wants to go down more. I agree with that.
It's one of those things that would be the scariest bull trap and
Yeah.
I mean bear trap, sorry. But it is possible. I mean, I guess it is. Can't
This is
rule it out.
how the future played at the end. That's the 1 hour actually on the S&P futures. And the Nasdaq is in theory in a spot where it could bounce, right? And I actually want to stop here and see what, like, how Zabi's going to chart this. I'm curious because here that this is like a pretty obvious rejection, right? Briefly, a little bit excited about the EMA reclaim, just like here. This time it was even outside of the diagonal, but the diagonal we know they're not very reliable in downtrends. And then the bearish retest.
I don't think he's going to be able to chart that. You're probably going to have to keep it up if he wants to talk about.
He's got his PC issues, right? The blue screen.
It seems his network card melted from the logs.
An actual blue screen of death. Haven't seen that in a while.
My computer works as long as I don't load the chart.
That's a sign. Sign off. Enjoy a weekend.
Yeah, I guess. No, but honestly, just a quick interruption. Sorry.
Yeah, like, no, you can take over, and I
no, because like I agree with KJ and Carly and about even like his worst scenario that would be like a black swan, but like I mean it's I honestly I was going to cover just like the S&P because I was gonna make a joke about let's talk about crypto and just load the S&P chart, and so because it just follows it so clearly, and I don't know how we can, like I know I'm not saying that's what I want to talk about right now, but how can we talk about trading and chart without talking about what's going on in the world? And I'm not talking about the midterms, because that was the midterm rally that we just had, that was the bear market rally we just had, and now, like, I don't like, it's just something to bounce on something Cardi said that I'm not sure I agree on. He said like, oh, they're gonna save the chart for the midterm or whatever. I don't think they care anymore because they just forgave all these loans, and that's how you buy the votes. You know, either you give money to the people if you want to buy votes, or you save the chart. Well, looks like they decided what they were gonna do this time because they know they cannot save the chart, in my opinion. So they just forgave all these loans, student loans, and they know, you know, we know they want to get the votes from the young people, the new generation, not the old people who have all the billions. Like these people are not the majority anymore, and of course these people run lobbies, but whatever. That's beside the point. That's not what I'm gonna talk about. Like I feel like right now there's bigger issues at hand in the whole world with just I don't know Taiwan. Like I know we've been talking about Taiwan for a year, but it's the first time that Biden actually gave $1 billion to Taiwan like Friday morning. What happened? The chart nuked. And
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, China, what did they say? They said, if you don't remove that 1 billion you're gonna give to Taiwan, we're gonna be mad at you. And like I know China is a new Russia and everybody thinks China is evil. I don't believe China. I mean, and I don't agree at all with the Communist Party and the authoritarian government of there, whatever. But in my opinion, China doesn't want war. They just want what they want, which was two things: Hong Kong and Taiwan. They got Hong Kong. Taiwan is next, and then they'll be happy, and then they'll be done. They don't want to run a world power with army all over the world and control the world and give freedom to people. They just want the world to go well so they can sell their shit. If there's a war, they don't sell their shit. They just want to sell their stuff.
It's
And they
actually
need
it's,
to
like, it's actually interesting how the US new modus operandi on making war seems to be like sending billions around the globe to buy weapons, right? Like
yeah, to buy
instead
their
of
weapons.
to buy their weapons off of them. Yeah.
But then Lockheed Martin doesn't even pump so much, so I don't know. But anyways,
It's because it removes like the entire narrative of sending our children to get slaughtered. It removes that entirely. It achieves the same
Well,
purpose without
yeah.
the anti-war proponents being able to use that as an excuse to stop them from doing it. So
It actually like the vote is still out on if it achieves the same purpose, right? Like the these initiatives have been going relatively poorly. Like all the wars have been going poorly, but usually it took more years until people realized that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Afghanistan went well or Iraq went well, to be honest.
No,
And
no,
like,
but you had like some success initially, and then it turned into a shithole. Like
Both those worlds. I'm sorry, I disagree. Both those wars went fantastically. I mean, the industrial military complex did a shit lot of money on those two.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, we don't know about that yet in terms of the like how the revenues look for the insiders on the new initiatives. I'm calling them initiatives now, apparently. But you don't have a success story. It's like currently, like if you look at Europe, for example, which is like one of the main allies. It's like Putin won basically, right? Putin has got them in his grip, and currently the only way out looks like either Germany and Europe declares market failure on the energy market and starts like rationing, or they concede to Russia and just give him something to
you see that
ease.
thing in Spain, like a company, like they have like this little hardware to control the AC.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
I saw that.
And like
that's fucking
one
brutal.
morning, everybody shows up. One morning, everybody shows up at the office, and the AC you cannot set it below 80. It's like no, it's controlled from and it's like maybe that's on your Tesla tomorrow. Like oh, you cannot put your AC, or you cannot drive more than 50 miles today. Make sure you park and go home, whatever. Like
Xavi, I'm gonna try to find it, but it happened in the States this week.
What?
Where there was a fine print in from one of the energy companies where they said that they could initiate some energy saving programs, and where people were not able to adjust their home thermostats.
And that's politics of austerity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we are deep into that right now. So yeah, so to cut the meta short and let Savi continue, it seems that the current initiatives are going a bit different than the traditional, quote unquote, traditional interventional wars that the U.S. fought over the second half of the 20th century, and into the 21st. So that's actually, it's interesting times.
I mean, Chris is totally right. Like, for us regular people, we are being sold on a war because we want peace in the world and we need to bring peace and we need to beat the bad guy and this and that. But like that's just a narrative we're being sold. The real reason we're going to war is not to bring peace and beat the bad guy. Okay, because the bad guy, don't want to be conspiracies, but the bad guy has been put there or be let go up just so we can bring that war and then we're going to war not because we want to do better, we just want to make money and now you're right. Like now it's like, okay, maybe we don't want to bring send our soldiers there and people don't we will not like agree on the war or rally behind the idea of going into war. So instead we just send drones and send billions and then let these people there, well, which is their problem, use our money. That's our taxes. But at the end of the day, like still America doing a sacrifice, either sending lives and soldiers and lives, or just sending money, which is just printed out of thin air, and then it's our next generation taxes that's gonna have to pay back for it if the whole system doesn't go bankrupt, or the whole currency doesn't go fucking deflate to like hell. So I mean, and like right now, this is exactly what's going on. Like when you show your inverse head and shoulder on spy, and it's like, okay, either it bounces now or it doesn't. Either the head is the trap and it supports now, or it's not. And then what does it do? Then we know it goes lower. At least it goes
The
as
last
low.
monthly, the last monthly doesn't look like it, right?
Right now, it looks more like kind of a bearish retest of the weekly EMA, which is the kiss of death, which means that was just the first half of a bear market.
Yeah.
The monthlies on F and BTC look terrible.
And like I agree with everything, but then it's interesting to see that Atom and Matic. I didn't have time to look at BNB USD before my computer went down, but at least these two, Atom and Matic, are actually pushing. They're actually pushing and holding like more than a good chunk of that pump. And that Fibonacci retracement, like we're barely on the 236 instead of like retracing more of it. So that's, I don't know if you can bring it up.
This is like the most scary shit right now. I mean, the current month, like, actually, the monthly has printed. Like, it's looking almost like 100% the same. Obviously, like the scale is a little bit different because this was like most of the drawdown in this candle, and here's like one part of a much longer drawdown, right? So it doesn't need to do that following, but it's apparently historically not the best setup.
I think Matic ripped because of like Vitalik's so bullish on ZK rollups, and they're like the first ones to really implement something crazy on it or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like with Atom, what gives me pause? I looked at that today, and we know how in the past Atom oftentimes showed strength last before bad times happened. Like it did that on numerous occasions, like more than twice at least. And the Atom BTC fan is coming up right here, and that's bad news, right? So I put an additional line there to trigger an alert when that comes because it could signal danger. Like this relative strength in Atom is something that is not necessarily good.
Hey! Don't touch my Atom.
Is this like the king shot?
Show me where Stillman touched.
BTC, it looks like it's gonna make like another move up. Like I've held off from shorting it for the last couple of days.
Do you have
I mean KJ, if like in tomorrow maybe. If this hits and you see a good short setup, it's probably the right one.
Yeah, I think it stops. I think it stops all the guys out who have like stops above 13, and like wherever that move like sells off is like the top. I think.
I'll show it to you
Like
when.
unless
I'll show it to you when I.
I think Chris has it at like 14 and change, right?
Yeah, I've got it at 1472 for a short, an obvious short, but pretty much anywhere above the median is a good place to short.
Yeah, and that's where your 21
Yeah.
sits. I think that's it. Isn't it? It's 21 weekly. Just at like close to 14 at the moment. And so that's Atom, but I've also seen that like relative strength also in the current structures that look less good than Atom. Like for example, let me actually pull up Matic because you talked about that one too, Zavi. So with Matic, I found really interesting that it reclaimed that uptrend from May. Like it traded below it, like tons of interactions. So definitely this line matters. Went down pretty viciously, stopped everybody out, and then crept up again, and now is flagging above it. So I think that from here locally this could go up. And then you have all of this, and I don't know. So could be Ganfan 2 again, but it's not the best on this one, I guess. Apparently, it's not, at least not at the moment. Sometimes it also depends on the time you hit it. And then Doge, for example, also like much weaker than Matic or Atom, but and structurally more close to Bitcoin, I'd say. But the structure it makes looks so much better than what Bitcoin's doing, right? Like Chris noticed this too. And then I had all the high time frame, like daily, quote unquote high time frame, like daily charts that also looked like this wave could actually form a bottom rather than set up for another new. We'll know though, like if the shape of this drastically changes, right? Like if this becomes more of a bear flag and then does this, then yeah, like it's not that, it's not the bowl I was looking for. Currently though, I think that this is also one that looks better, although not structurally, right? Structurally, the ones that Zabi brought up with Atom and Matic, they are much better, because obviously they haven't broken down as much and reclaimed, or they are, what is it? They're actually close to breaking the highs. But yeah,
Can you
KJ
can you
KJ would probably say like it's a bear flag until it isn't, and KJ and Chris actually had this great exchange in margin chat the other day, where KJ was saying like this could be like a really nasty bear flag, and then Chris was like zooming out and was saying, yeah, the thing about bear flags is they are bear flags until they aren't, right? And what's interesting is that for a bear flag, this has been going on a long time, right? This is almost like a vertical accumulation, isn't it? Also the way it makes it so difficult, unless you like got in low and are just holding, it makes it so difficult to trade and hop on and ride the wave. It's actually very similar to what Chris compared it to, in my opinion. This is, it's the same, and then eventually, instead of being the worst thing in the world and just doing this, it chooses the other direction. So yeah.
See, the thing that I didn't like about it is like, well, I have my macro bias on the overall market.
Yeah.
And then like when I zoom in, just like looking at Atom USDT perpetual on like Bybit or Finance, you could see like the heaviest volume is coming in at the end here, where we're like right at the neckline, and perhaps that would imply that there are people shorting it. Clearly, it's not it's a crowded trade at the moment, so like that kind of lines up for the Chris level hitting. On some sort of like bounce on BTC or F, you could see this thing pump like 10-15% and just completely obliterate everybody shorting it, and then that's the top.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bitcoin and F is going to hold their lows here, which this is the thing, I don't think that's going to happen. So positionally, where Atom is, like it stops people out, but then there's such a long way down, and I think just the buying is gone at the top of this, and it starts to become panic pretty quickly. And then you have a lot of people locked in where they're staking, and we've seen this before, where like you can't get out for like a couple weeks or whatever, and like they're just like watching their net worth nuke, and as soon as they can get their money out, they panic sell too, which just further pushes it down. So that's like, I don't know. I
That's
don't think this is just going to go to
really-
like $30. I think this is going to fucking go up, and then it's going to go all the way down and potentially even take out the low. Like I think it's going to be a king short, but it's difficult timing where it is, and thank God for Chris. He's given us a pretty good diagram of where this can go.
Yeah, Chris would be probably like around this trend with the 14 and change, right?
Yeah.
It could even be 16. Like this is the problem. Like now that it's shown so much strength in the past few days, like I don't know. Especially on like these derivative platforms, like maybe I don't it's difficult to know. Like I'll know it when I see it, that kind of thing. Where like it's going to expand out probably unless it can't make a higher high here and the market starts to nuke, then this could be it. But I don't like that the volume all came in at the top too. And like where you look at it is like, yeah, it's been uptrending since July or June, even mid-June. Basically since it put it in slow, it's all only up. But it's like it's just so I don't know, man. Like it looks like it's like going right towards the second neckline, like, and it got rejected pretty hard with volume. So maybe a stop run above and
Well, that's the current issue I've got with it right now for either longing or shorting this. It's because it's divergent with volume. It's still rising up, but I mean volume is decreasing on a daily basis very steadily. So that's not usually indicative of it wanting to go another leg up to hit the 14. So I think it might actually hit the bottom of the trend before it hits the top.
Yeah, and that seems like I'm not looking for like I'm looking for like a scam pump.
Yeah.
Like a true scam that sells off like immediately, and like if you're not paying attention, you don't have order set, you miss it, and it's like, oh shit, like then you don't know what to do, and then it's just the buying is over.
The interesting part about this like whole structure is, in terms of Chris pointing out how we didn't have like a bottoming out phase, a no attention phase, which would probably like on a chart like this look more like this, right? And then it goes backwards and then it goes. So we didn't have that, and if it ends up being something like this, right? Then that's true super cycle behavior. It really is, right? Because then all of that is just a longer version of this. That would be pretty insane. I don't think it's the most likely, but if we see that, then we know what's up. Then bear market is canceled, in my opinion. Not much response to that. I'll take that as sentiment.
No, I'm actually digesting it. It's always no, it's always a work to take in information and just measure it against your own current bias, being able to switch it quickly. Because I mean, my bias would be to say that we haven't flattened out yet on this market or any market, and that we need a period of apathy. But I mean, all things being equal, markets don't have to replicate themselves every single cycle. They might do something close, but not necessarily the same. So maybe that 6 months to a year that I'm looking for flattening or apathy might just not happen this time because of world volatility, because of everything that's going on. So,
it could be just
didn't look the same either.
Exactly, and it could be just very volatile frenzy, like global confusion going both ways, right?
Yeah.
Which could look like that. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the most likely thing to happen. I'm just saying if that comes, it would look an awful lot like just the longer version. You know how we got like the drawn out top phase, then the sell off, a little bit of sideways, and then it does the like vertical accumulation basically, right? The nasty thing. And here you have like the drawn out top and then the sell off, and then it goes sideways briefly, and then it starts the vertical accumulation thing. And if that just just keeps on doing these nasty pullbacks and it doesn't really drop, mute the bear flag, then at some point we probably need to consider if that's what's replicating, which would be so difficult, I think. Like so difficult to see and realize. So maybe it's good to at least consider that for a moment now. I'm like, with all this being said today, I'm not thinking that's the most likely outcome, but I'm just being reminded of how this looks a lot.
Well, I think
Obviously, this was steep.
what characterize bull or bear markets are inefficiencies, right? It's when you have these pumps that just keeps on going, and like eventually on a monthly time frame down the line, the efficiency will be like filled. But if you look at every expansion, there is always a little bit of that pump that we don't that the efficiency is never filled, right? And or like not instantly, not right away, and that's what really characterizes like a bull market or a bear market. So like you have like in Atom right here 3 consecutive pumps that really create a new price tag, like a teleportation price. Suddenly it's like a new price much higher, and because we go find liquidity much higher, and right now we are typically in the bear market because we have just like this crazy dump we just had, right, from like the 30s to 6. And now the thing is, I agree, we're kind of like in a reaccumulation, but I don't think it's like a vertical accumulation at all, because if you zoom in on that flag you just did, there is no inefficiencies. Every time we do a pump, we retrace. Like there is no price that's never came back right now. The whole flag you just drew, every time there is a pump, there is a dump, and it's like very zigzaggy, very choppy, and there is no pump that's like that leaves you behind.
That's like pricing people out.
Yeah, there is no price that's leaving you behind. And like, okay, Atom is strong because it just did more than 2x and it's still very strong as of today. But the truth is, it was also the weakest.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
wanted to say that too. That
like,
it's
so let me.
like kind of warping the whole thing, right? We're
So
looking
like,
at a
not
very
not
weak
only
spot.
not only we sweep the last year's dump, right? The May dump last year. Not only we are below that flag, right? Can you just do a little mouse thing for the people? No, not this one, not this one. The other one before. Yeah. Not only we went below that, we went all the way back to the initial range. From there, yeah, there we go. Now, can you just bring Solana up?
Yeah, like Doge is also works well for that.
Just is that Solana? No.
That's Solana. Yeah, let me actually
Yeah,
make
if
it.
you look at Solana, we didn't take that low, right?
Oh, we
And
do.
we are very far from the initial range,
Yeah, this one.
right? We didn't take that one, right? And so yeah, Solana is not as strong as Atom, but Solana didn't like fucking nuke. I mean, it did nuke a lot because it went very high.
But it
But
performed so much higher also. So it has all. This is the old accumulation range for it at like $2,
yeah,
right?
and so I don't think Solana is going back to $2. And so
No.
actually, I think Solana is a stronger asset still.
Mm.
And so, but now, like if you zoom in Solana and you look at yeah, can you go on the daily?
I am.
Mm.
You want to get the weekly or 3-day? 3-day maybe. I mean, again, like this is pretty easy, right? Bull market, bear market. Get above here, and you. This is like.
So it like I think Chris is right. Like not it could be like that. Nothing happens for like a year. If you look at old uranium chart when they had a bubble, and then a year later another bubble. Like, can you bring I don't know, you? Just a regular uranium chart. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out.
Let me go to weekly maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out more. You want the
What?
initial thing.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So that was like a pump already, right? So like from wherever it, I don't know if you have the full chart, but that was a pump. Where it comes back down from, that was it pump all the way to up there. The first, your initial price, like the beginning of the chart, was already like a huge pump. If you compare to the rest of the uranium market, for example.
It's unfortunately
just,
it's the only
yeah, just take
chart.
my word for it. Just
Yeah,
take my
sure.
word for it. So like if you zoom out more,
And then once the bleeding is done, maybe here. That's not really, but that's like how many years?
no, I'm not trying to compare like the date and the time frame here. I'm just saying like structurally, you could have a pump that goes like a billion X, come back from scratch, then have another pump that goes like 10X, and then so I don't know where we are. Are we in between both, or are we after the first one? But like you see how like structurally in between both you have this kind of bull flag there.
I don't. What I don't like so much about comparing those is like comparing a commodities market to crypto. Despite like people comparing Bitcoin to gold, shit like that. Especially like a productive commodity market. I think that this is unlikely.
But this is like kind of what happened in crypto in 2013.
Oh, that?
No,
I don't think so either.
never happened. This is like 10 years of drought. I know you don't want to compare the timeframes too much. This could be, on a different scale. I mean, the sideways, yes, that's kind of a little bit what Ethereum looked like, right? Between the market cycle. This basically, right?
Yeah.
That looks like Aave.
So yeah. But yeah, I mean, of course,
like,
it can happen.
I
I still think that that's not what we are going to get, though. I had conversations about that with Bitmonk a couple of times, and he actually made good points about how that's not the most likely outcome, and I agree. And I think that also what Chris was talking about, the whole no attention phase, will be shorter or look different than this. Like, I think we are much more like, if you have think about the whole first they ignore you, then they fight you, then they join you thing. We're most obviously in the then they fight you part of that. This was more the they ignore you part. And I think the they will fight you part will probably look more volatile and also keep attention on the space more so than what happened here. That's just how I would frame it. Well, maybe I'm wrong though, of course.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense because if the next step is they will join you, then they cannot not pay attention for so long.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the whole they will join you part is also not a set outcome, right? There is this idea that crypto is going to get pushed to the side in favor of the central bank digital currencies. I think that's again not the most likely outcome. I think that those will coexist to a certain degree, but like some of that pain in the they will fight you phase will probably be linked to that in some regard. Um, maybe against certain stables. Yeah.
I still believe on geek ruling the world and cyberpunk nerds being always one step ahead and finding a way to create tremendous products that reach adoptions.
Yes.
Whether it's the internet or the mailbox or the phone and like
Very
kind of
good
the
point.
the next step is kind of really um like what Solana is doing with like the Solana space in New York, the Solana embassy, which is a huge building in Miami, the Solana phone. Like really, that's like very interesting what they're doing over there at Solana, and that has nothing to do with FTX. Probably, of course, they work hand in hand, and we all know what we think about Sam. And like even in that regard, Sam posted last week a tweet about the videos they're doing, like kind of for onboarding noobs. And I don't know if you watched it, and it's kind of like, oh, you wonder what cryptocurrency is? Well, you probably already heard of coins such as Bitcoin and Solana, and it's very interesting. If you go on FTX, it's Bitcoin Solana, right? Like the main bar there, and so really like they go hand in hand, Sam and Solana, and Solana is doing things that like Ethereum, didn't care to do or think it was too early, but like Solana is like really clearly doing it already. I read like stuff about comparison of the hackathon, and on like this year's Solana's hackathon, they had like already as many projects and almost as much developers than the Ethereum one. And so really I'm kind of buying into this, like Solana is kind of the third generation, because honestly, if you look at everything else like Avalanche, whatever, it's all like Solidity, EVM compatible stuff, and it's kind of like Ethereum on steroids with subnets, whatever, or like BSC, BNB, whatever it is on Ethereum. Only Cosmos is slightly different, but it's still also very much like with the IBC, but it's still very much like kind of like Ethereum little brother, if I may say so.
Yeah, it's like there's more emphasis on like several interconnected chains than Ethereum. That's like their way of scaling the whole
Yeah.
thing. But the like the chains itself are not that different, right?
Right. Really, Solana is the only one that's like not EVM compatible. You cannot use Solana with MetaMask. It's Phantom, and that's why. Um, and it's really like a new language. I was using Rust, and when you look at what developer would say about Rust, well, it's not unanimous, but a lot of developers love Rust. I don't know if Chris knows a little bit about Rust. So what I did the research on the language itself, and people are just saying really like it's the new C++. It's really like a very powerful, deep language that is accessible, and really a lot of people are learning Rust, and you already like have people who knew Rust from previous work and background and ventures. They don't have to learn Solidity to do blockchain. Now they can already use the Rust that they know. They just have to learn a few things that applies to Solana with that Rust. But it's really like a third generation thing backed by billionaires. And so I mean I agree when Carty says like he's kind of accumulating Solana and kind of bullish on Solana. Like eventually, like for NFTs, it's not despite like you said, Stillman BSC being like kind of the other layer one that's really out there and showing strength against the whole market. Honestly, like when it comes to NFTs, it's not BSC. We don't have NFTs in BSC as far as I know, that are like as proponent and successful than the one on Solana with as much users. So I'm really like interested into like seeing what Solana will do whenever all of this is said and done. All of this settles after you know this. But really, like the uncertainty on the market right now is really due about due from the geopolitical matters, and and honestly, it is scary. It is scary because just zoom out and look at what we do, what has been done. Okay, we want to help Ukraine. We've been helping Ukraine with like billions on a weekly basis for a few months now, and what this led us to, the fucking energy collapse in America, in Europe. uh
Yeah,
and
it's very fruitless capital, right? Like the
right.
difference between other money injections is that nobody knows where the fuck it's going.
Yeah, and like Europe,
And
Europe was kind of helping Ukraine, but not as much as the Americans, obviously. But
yeah,
they were kind of helping Ukraine, but they were also sanctioning Russia, but not too much. Let's poke Russia, but not too much, so they still send us their gas. And like it was kind of like a harm fight between Europe and Russia. Without sending any soldiers or weapons, just like have financial sanction and whatnot. And suddenly Russia is like, oh, the gas pump is leaking, we can't send you gas, we'll fix it over the weekend. Oh, actually it's unfixable for unknown duration. Fuck yourself.
actually, we now killed enough energy executives so that it can be broken now.
Yeah, so it's like, and suddenly, like, Russia doesn't care about the sanction. He just sending gas, and now Europe is. I'm telling you, Europe is about any day now to be like, okay, okay, remove every sanction, we remove everything. You
Yeah,
know, like that's close.
that's actually the bull case. I'm
That's the
actually
bull case.
that's one of the major
Oh, Russia won the
major
war. That's your bull case. Russia won the
yeah,
war.
exactly. Like the major one of the main reasons why I think the whole winter is coming thing won't happen is that, I mean, one of the main reasons I think it won't happen is that everybody thinks it will happen, and in this case, it's not. It's very strong sentiment, in my opinion.
But dude, like you were talking about, like, hold on,
And one of the factual reasons why it could not happen would be that Europe just concedes to Russia certain things.
no, but you're saying Europe is you're saying winter is coming, but I know we know we don't really believe on these energy prices that went 10x parabolic, whatever. It's futures market a year out.
Oh,
But that's
that's
like,
already a thing of the past now.
yeah, but that's like that happened in the middle of the summer.
Yeah,
Like we're in September. Next month is October. Next month winter is coming. Let's see what happens. You know, and
yeah,
and
but that's done now. That market is has topped.
yeah,
It,
okay.
like it could put in a complacency shoulder that could get scary again. Of course.
Gas is usually like hits highs in the summers anyway.
Yeah,
Once
that's
the winter.
like one of the reasons I wasn't aware of, but I didn't need to know. Like it wasn't the charts, but one of the reasons I wasn't aware of was this whole thing where Europe was working on filling up their reserves, like hardcore, and that was pushing up the prices. And now they managed to get to 80% reserve status 2 months ahead of time of their target. So they will probably reach like close to 100%. And people keep saying, well, but the flow will be different. You can't compare it to other years. Like if the flow is zero, then the 80% reserves are going to be depleted at the end of January, and then you've still got like 2 months of winter. And yes, yeah, of course. But like in this post I was reading, everybody was telling that. Like they were reply guys. Everybody was saying that. And and that was before the big energy collapsing again. That was just like part of my previous consideration there, idea. And who knows if the flow will be zero during the winter? I don't think so. I think that something like that, like Europe giving in to Russia, for example, could totally happen. Like very,
Yeah,
very
but I mean
easily.
that's what we are like
And
hoping
then
and
on
expecting.
the other side, you also have Russia that's going into a war, like with relatively weak supply lines that had difficulties being sustained initially during springtime, and now they're going into winter. So they might also be interested in taking what they can get, and if Europe gives them anything, they might be more inclined to quote unquote call it a day. Like this war probably won't just like get turned like switched off like that. It'll
Yeah,
probably
but like
linger in a
while
way.
while the whole world is probably going to be afraid of, at history, when you look at history, Russia never lost a war, or URSS or whatever, Soviets never lost a war during winter, right? Napoleon get his ass
Right. But
Yeah, but that
also
was
the
that was
Nazi get
in
his
in
that
any
was
of those
their
wars, Ukraine was fighting on Russia's side.
yeah, exactly. That was like
Ukraine is Russia,
Russian
so
soil.
it's not like they're fighting the French, like or German. You can't go from like out of that region and come in there and win. It's not a winnable
yeah,
war, just like you
yeah,
said with Napoleon. But Ukraine, in that war, Ukraine was Russia. So like Ukraine is used to the terrain. They have it's kind of like an even playing field, but not even like they have slight terrain advantage
Yeah, they
because
have
they're the
home
home field.
field. Yeah.
Yeah,
They have guerrilla
and
warfare.
Russia is like overextending their power into their territory, so that's also the difference.
I don't know. It kind of feels like Russia doesn't stop until they win. Like in this one,
yeah, yeah.
I don't think they're gonna stop. And then does America let them win? I don't think so. This is the bad part is that like the fucking government there's something going on where it's like we got a major hard on for this.
Yeah,
And
but don't get me started on this. But my point here, we went too much on we
there's
went
so
too
much
much
for a
on
short Labor Day call.
we went too much on the sideline when my point was actually to talk about like the next one, which is Taiwan.
The high lows on Doge BTC. No, just kidding.
My I was saying, I was just mentioning that we went very too long on it. I was just mentioning that to say that's what has been happening now, right? America giving unlimited money to Ukraine for months, and what this, what did it lead us to? To nothing. To actually even worse, Europe about
Just
to
give it
give
away.
up and collapse, hopefully, and Russia winning the war. So now, are we doing it again? Are we starting to give money to Taiwan? What this is going to lead us to? I'm asking you the question. I have an opinion. If it's repeating the same pattern, the same fractal of this government doing crazy things against the logic, well, how is China going to react? Like I said earlier, I don't think China wants a war, but China is very authoritarian over there. In a slap of the hand, in the one next morning, Xi Jinping wake up in the wrong foot or nothing, like not even wanting to send a soldier or a weapon, just saying, okay, everything that's in China, now I own it. So Apple is pretty smart. They moved to India last month. But Tesla, I don't know. Like the biggest factory in the world is in Shanghai, and half of the part that every factory needs from China. If one, like Microsoft, all of these things, like you talk about inflation being crazy. What if China just stops sending a boat to America? Just that's it the next day. Oh, you're sending money to Taiwan? You're not sending us chips anymore? Okay, you know, we
We
can
own
be mad
everything
too.
here.
Like Russia did. Oh,
That would
sanction
actually
us, you sanction us, you sanction us.
exactly,
We
yeah.
cut the valve. China can do the same. Oh, you
No,
sanction us
they
here, you
they.
sanction us there. We
I'm
cut the
sorry,
valve.
I disagree. They can't do that at all. You're talking about the largest consumer economy on the planet, and you don't want to do anything that's going to piss them off for the end of days. That'll just put China back into abject poverty. They need the United States consumers. You cut them off. That's it. It's over. It's over. India's going to be the next China, or Argentina, or wherever. It just won't be China
What
anymore.
if China is doing a bet on 100 years? I agree with you, but what if, like China is doing a bet on the next 100 years, seeing how America is going to shit in the long term, while in the other hand, you have like Saudi Arabia, all of these countries that are up and coming with billions also, and spending all the money in China. Now the second language in Arab schools is not English anymore, it's Chinese. And like a 10-year-old Saudi is learning Chinese, not English.
Oh no! Look,
So,
I agree. A lot of other countries are positioning themselves. However, I mean, they're not even a fraction of the U.S. population's consumership. Not even.
which is based on a credit system, which is going to shit and probably it could go bankrupt if it was not for the Fed printing money on, like, every American that's born today owes 300K to the government. But yet, only 40% of America pay taxes. So I don't know how this goes on forever. It's a Ponzi. It goes on for 100 years, and yeah, it works.
Absolutely,
but who knows
but
if it goes on for 200 years? I don't know.
but you pull the
Honestly-
plug. You pull the plug, and Xi Jinping cannot afford to pull that plug. He's already in enough problems as it is. But you pull that plug too early, or instead of doing it gradually, you do it all suddenly, and that's it. Your economy ceased to function. It's over.
So they are so you think like right now they are just just gonna let it fly?
Well, look, they're between a rock and a hard place. I mean, militarily, they can't take Taiwan by force. I mean,
Why not?
because
Of
the Americans have 20 aircraft carriers. The Chinese have got 4, and Japan's got probably the second most efficient naval force on the planet after the U.S. Right next to China. I mean, the Japanese have come a long way with their military on water. So it's not like they're going to be able to take the island and hold it with any kind of ease whatsoever. So that's just the one thing. On the other side of that vice is the economic vice. You can't afford to alienate the large consumer partners that you've got in Japan and North America and Australia, which would obviously be on this side as well. So no, I just don't think that they're able to do anything just suddenly, and I don't think they're even going to be able to do it insidiously.
I agree. They would like lose their superpower instantly.
Yep.
That like they cripple their economy. They're only relevant because of the economy.
Yeah, and a third of it just collapsed in the real estate. A third of their economy.
What you could say though is that they seem to be willing, trying to poke that and doing like soft versions of that, which you could see with like the very harsh new COVID lockdowns that seem kind of medically inappropriate. So I think they are using that lever at least to a certain degree, although they might not be able to go to the extreme length that Savi suggested earlier.
Yeah.
I think
The reason why
historically,
they can inflict pain at least. We know that they already did over the past year.
like historically, also like one of the most surefire ways to jump. So,
I think
I wouldn't say China's like
Out there, you dropped out there.
yeah, you dropped out. We missed what you said.
Historically, what?
One of the ways, the surefire ways to jumpstart a government's or a country's economy is a war. Like I don't think China is going to hesitate to defend like their part of the globe. That because yeah, you say they have a lot to lose, but like also if they can't like do what they want in their own backyard, like that's a cost as well. The cost of looking weak in the eyes of the rest of the world. And I don't think they're just going to let this go.
well, KJ,
I'm not sure.
The way I see this right now, they're just using fear techniques. Oh, we are gonna nuke Japan if they touch us because of our history. That's what they said last year. Oh, we will take Taiwan. We will take over and we will steal shit if you send money to Taiwan. Please retire this deal right now. Like they use fear. They send plane all over and just to scare the Taiwanese.
We've been calling their bluff for like a long
Yeah.
time. So, like I think eventually they have to do something.
But
to be
no,
like,
what's
"Hey,
happening
you guys are
now
like
is
fucking shit."
well, what I'm trying to say is that what's happening now is they are using fears, but America is starting to sanction them. Or we don't say, they say Nvidia, where they told Nvidia stop sending chips to China. Like we are kind of poking them back by, playing that game or like, submitting to their fear. Or it's all a play. I don't know. Like, I don't know the extent of like the manipulation going on in the world. What I'm saying is like the fact that happening now, they are using fear tactics. Americans are starting to do what they did with Ukraine.
Oh, for sure. Pelosi,
Right. Pelosi,
1 billion.
Exactly, the billion. And so that now we are the one poking China. We are actually the one poking China. And now it's like, do you really want to poke China? Because last time you tried to poke Russia, look what happened. Europe went to shit. Now you're trying to poke China, what's going to happen? Not only we don't know the consequences, that's up to debate. Will China like drop their pants or really like get heated up? I don't know. But you're also doing something else. You're also pushing Russia and China together to get along even more, giving them an excuse to get along.
But you're talking about two pretty much. I mean, currently, I mean, if you guys just delve into the Chinese economy right now, it's really not going well. And Russia's economy is holding by a shoestring as well, if at all. So you're talking.
So a war is good for them.
Not really, because they well, everything. I mean, they depend right now on cooperation with the rest of the
Not
globe.
if you win the war.
So where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from while they're
economies in the U.S. It's only been good for the U.S. economy when there was war.
Yeah.
It's shitty for every other fucking
it's
country.
shitty for everybody else. It's just the U.S. You can't apply the U.S. model to the rest of the world. I mean, they get into wars. They get into wars. Their people. They get into wars. Their people start to starve. It's as simple as that.
But crypto is correlated to the S&P, so
Yeah.
yeah, it is. If that ends up being good for the US economy, it's a net positive if you are exposed to risk markets. Like
There we go.
I read an
Dojo.
interesting talk conversation between Dejan Spartan and somebody who said if you were you invested in your local markets over the US stock market, you almost certainly lost money over the past decade, or are at break even, something like that. Like local markets just can't keep up, right? So yeah, everything
That's the Soros model.
the Soros model. Yeah. So yeah, Chris is right though.
Let's hope not.
It's going to be bad for the world. Like in Europe, obviously, you already start to feel it. So.
The
And
thing
I
is,
mean, Europe is still one of the most privileged places. You feel it more elsewhere already.
North America's.
We talked about this years ago.
Yeah.
We said we're gonna have societal unrest, famine, and war. And fucking did you see this Biden on that was I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw clips of it, but just the background choice with the red.
Oh shit, that was real?
That was real, dude.
Oh fuck, I thought it was memes and shit. Because that looked like a Nazi freaking address.
Yeah.
The one where people put Bane's voice over him.
Yeah,
I only saw like that, and that's the actual video looked like that though.
Yeah, they had it's this blood red background, and then he has the two Marines in the shadows behind him, holding guns and shit. And it's just there's a lot of symbolism in there. Number one, number two, it's anybody looking at that, first off, you think it's a meme because it's how could this be real? But it's very blatant, that an address like that with that type of background is only meant for one reason, and it's not a good one, I don't like that at all. Fucking crazy.
And KJ, what did he talk about? Do you even know what he talked about?
Yeah, well, he was blaming everything on Trump and MAGA and said all the, they're a threat to our democracy and they're radical and
And he had Marines in the background saying that.
Yeah.
They were yeah. Look.
Yeah, if you got a clip or something, that would be interesting. If you could post that in general.
Dude, it looks like a fun video game. Or
they got the traditional god in the background, not
but they were doing different movements behind them, synchronized. It wasn't good.
That's
you had the Nazi logo.
Holy fuck!
That looks very 1930 of him.
Yeah.
It's no good.
No.
Was he alive? Was he alive in 1930? Probably alive.
He was probably around. took notes.
He has nostalgia.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. Not good.
And the American eagle in there. You have an eagle.
But you have that eagle on there always, no? On his
Yeah. But he's making the parallel with the
like the shadows and the red background. What they did there, that's crazy. I wasn't aware that happened.
And his speech was not encouraging. Very divisive. No. Very divisive. I don't know. Dark Brandon, ever since he got COVID, he came back. He's
Paul
Sorry,
Auster.
Brandon, you
Paul
can
Auster
I don't know
wrote
about that.
these novels about like this like slightly in the future of the U.S. Like the novels are a couple years old now, maybe 10, and they were taking place like around now, probably a little bit later, about how life would be in a separated U.S. where the states separated from the Union again, and you had like red and blue, and it feels more like that was a very accurate vision. Pretty crazy.
It's crazy that 2 years and a half later, Trump still lives rent free in his head.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's also part of
Have you
the
ever seen
whole
Obama? Have
rhetoric
you
and
ever
the
seen?
whole, it's maybe also like keep bringing that up might also be furthering his own endeavors. Doesn't have to be that it's like accidental or sign of weakness to bring it back
Yeah,
up.
I mean, he has been elected not on who he is. The guy's been trying for like 8 years. He's not elected for who he is. He's elected because people didn't want Trump.
Yeah,
So
and also like
that's
because
his card. So he's still playing it. That's just he's still playing the only card he has, which is the only reason he's there is because we can't tolerate the other side. We should not tolerate the other side.
I don't.
The other
I
side,
don't think that's true. I think they just can't tolerate Trump. I don't think you can say Trump is the other side. If Trump saw that he had an advantage of starting his own party or even becoming a Democrat, I mean, he would have taken that. I just don't think that his narratives, the one that he's comfortable pushing, are going to work with that demographic, which is why he chose the Republican side. But I wouldn't say that Trump is Republican. I think that you have a good candidate on the Republican side, it's a no brainer. That's why I think, DeSantis should stop the rhetoric that starting to mimic Trump almost and just do his own thing. And I think he's a shoo in. But, anyways, getting into politics again, I guess, huh? But yeah, it's just a not Trump. I agree with that part. Not Trump. Just not Republican, not Trump.
so that's the card he has. That's the card he's playing, and yeah, it looks pretty bad though.
Yeah, it does.
I
And
don't know.
the whole
I don't know.
waging at least economical war across the globe kind of fits into that
Dude,
domestic weakness. It's very, very typical, right?
we
But
we didn't
I
get.
wonder
I
if
mean,
after 2 years, Obama blamed Bush for something, or like even before that, all of them before that. I'm too young, but I wonder if Reagan blamed the guy before him for 2 years in. Always I wonder if a president is if something that happens often that 2 years in, the guy just does a crazy speech to blame the guy before.
I mean,
I
Trump
don't
did
know.
that all the
Trump
time,
is
like
blaming
throughout
Obama.
all his period. Uh,
Yeah, no, but Trump is blaming the
and
system.
I think Bush did it too. Um, like Bush
Yeah.
Jr. Yeah, I think I remember that. And earlier than that with Clinton, I was a bit too young to remember, I think.
Anyways,
The biggest issue for me about that, like all jokes aside, because this is not a joke at all, is the fact that you have America becoming very aggressive against China, like all in a short period of time. Like there's always been, issues, but they come out and now they decide to condemn their treatment of the Uyghur Muslims. Now, they're doing this stuff with Taiwan. You have the Pope, who is now coming out and saying that we're in World War III. Like and then you have this Biden fucking monstrosity of an event, like all in a span of like 2 days, right?
Right.
While like it's just not good that it's all happening so quickly, and you saw what stocks did on Friday, right? Like that was a very very sharp and nasty sell off, and you look at the charts, it's kind of like what is coming right now. This is not good. It's not good at all. It's fucking bad. And just to piggyback on what you said about how Trump isn't really a Republican, I agree. Like I don't think he holds like too many Republican true values, but like I guess it's kind of like how Elon says, like he was all and Joe Rogan. He's like, I was always a Democrat, but like I guess I'm considered a Republican, or like because the the lines have shifted so far, and the I know you don't like the conspiracy theory, but this isn't a conspiracy theory. Like Trump doesn't represent like the military industrial complex. He's an outsider to this, and that's you can see it like clear as day. Like as soon as Biden got in, we're fucking starting shit all over the world. Like everything that they said Trump was, they are. It's really the opposite. It's quite the opposite.
It's always like
He's
that.
not a warmonger. He didn't want the war. He made smart decisions. We made money.
Well,
We didn't have anything major. We tried to pull out of the Middle East. We did all that under Trump, and they didn't give him any credit for it. As soon as he's out, now it's like we're starting shit with Russia and China. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider that like part of the conspiracy theories. I think that that's probably a pretty correct assessment that he is not part of the same circles as the bi-party.
All those people played on the same
like-
team.
like
They played their roles.
Yeah.
However,
Played their roles.
it's
we're gonna fight with each other, but at the end of the day, whoever wins, we're all gonna get what we want.
but correlation. You got to remember though that correlation is not causation, and that for most of America to think that this guy gives a shit about you guys, that's kind of laughable. He doesn't give a shit about that. But anyways, shall we just finish this call, or it's been 2 hours
I think we
already?
can wrap it.
Yeah.
But Chris, do you want to open some charts still, or did we go like on a tangent for too long to make that worthwhile?
Well, I don't think there's anything I can add. I mean, I could have talked about Atom and Doge, but we've already talked about it, and we talked about the levels already that I was going to speak about. Outside of that, I mean, Solana, same thing.
Maybe we can talk about Doge some more, because we did really do that. Like I'll just pull up the chart randomly in the meantime, and I like added a couple of stuff, like a couple of things here, some stuff. I'm curious what you think about that. So what I saw on the daily here was like the first sequence of higher lows that could indicate a trend change, and that made me like interested in it. And then we also saw a higher high, but not on a closing basis, just on a wick basis here. And then when I drew that, I already was aware of this whole situation here, where we had this like I added this now, this like higher high fake out. I would say that the difference here is that this higher low step is much better defined than this, which I would still consider like part of the same movement and flag. This thing. It's not doing the up and then bull flag and then forming a base and then up. It's more like sideways up with a slight shakeout. Yes, you could say that this was a higher low and that the whole thing got invalidated, but I think this whole thing looks different and more healthy in that regard. So there's a chance that this whole movement is different to what it did here. So that's on the bullish side here on Doge BTC, and on the bearish side, I would say that with this whole inefficient up move, we got a good part of the inefficiency filled, and it actually stopped at a pretty major level here around those old highs. So maybe that's enough to fill. But if this goes on a bit longer and then sells off again and then becomes less volatile, the whole thing could also be like a very drawn out crash cycle. And that's when I would eventually expect the bottom to fall out. And that would coincide with the rest of that inefficiency from the original pump getting filled. You probably reached that old box that marked all these highs on the year-long oscillation. And you also get in the periphery of this MA, which is very interesting if you zoom in, right? Like it's been very, very well respected there in the past. Like it was resistance before the original breakout. So that's like another piece of confidence of why that could matter. So that's just my current view on it. locally, I think it has a chance to break out here. But if it doesn't and it goes sideways again, I think maybe a little bit later, that would be what I would expect. And then that probably coincides with the bottom on the whole market, and then 2023 it comes back out and does the whole the deal. That's how I see this chart at the moment.
Where's your what's your gray line at?
This one?
Yeah, I know the one below that, the horizontal.
This one?
Yeah.
That's 231 sats.
Okay, this is against BTC. All right.
Oh yeah, let me actually go. That's like the whole BTC consideration. But if it ends up doing the complete crash cycle, right, then we can imagine what happens on the rest of the market.
Yeah.
Where that comes. And here the issue is that the way I drew my Gantt fans, it gets dislocated on the daily, so I need to go to 4-hour, which is not as clean. And here I have like some major fib levels and the Gantt fans. And the next major Gann would sit at around 5 cents. Didn't get tagged here on the low. On the way up, these were super clean. On the way down, not so much, but you can still see they were pretty relevant. Here also, like recently, this whole flag was also very much like played around this upper Gann fan, so maybe that comes. And it's currently playing around one of these major fib levels. And again, doing maybe this more of a bowl shaped move right now, but this could look different in a day or two, as I'm not sure. Yeah.
I've got 5.8 cents to break the channel and reverse bias. So yeah, we're pretty much close.
Yeah, that would be like something like this, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. If that happens, like probably if we get like local weakness earlier, I would start to expect that happening. And currently, I think if it could break out from here around like over the next 1 or 2 days. But if it shows weakness, then I would assume that just doesn't happen. Doge BTC pairing looks much more compelling than this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got my Doge talk in. I'm not sure, right? There is an argument for both sides here. What I think is that the crash cycle probably needs a little bit more compression for the bad move. This is still pretty volatile.
Yeah, and that and right now on BTC, who still represents 40% of the crypto cap, we're on important support level. So that could actually fuel some sideways chop for a couple of weeks to come.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. Okay. So now that I got my Doge stuff in, same question. Do you want to share a screen or?
Yeah, I guess I can. I can do it really quick,
Yeah.
just to wrap
I'll
up.
stop streaming.
Yeah, although I don't know if I'll be able to cover everything I wanted to, but anyways, stop watching, share screen. Nope, this. Alrighty. So yeah, BTC. I mean, this is what we just talked about. It's going into a historical resistance right there. If we lose this level, then we're looking at something a little bit more ominous. I mean, you got this whole structure right there, and all of this inefficiency right here, right up to this top. We're talking about 13,000. So I think this is pretty critical for us to keep this level or close. I don't think that the bottom of this structure here is going to be enough to hold any kind of breaking of this level right here. So eyes up on that. Total, this is something that was drawn. Was it on this chart? I think it is. Oh yes, this triangle right here seems. Let me just shut off the volume here because it's interfering. This triangle here seems to be holding for now. I mean, obviously, if we break down here, we still have this this local support, which I don't think is very strong. And if this breaks, I think we're going straight to 800 fairly quickly. So it's either we go sideways or we break through this. I don't think we're going to break through the top of this right away, even though these structures are usually pretty bullish, but that has to go with the volume as well, which is not there. Obviously, the volume is decreasing as time goes on. One thing I wanted to talk about is checking your local currency against the U.S. I mean, U.S., as everybody knows, Dixie's been going nuts lately. This is the most opportunistic, time to sell. I mean, since the beginning of this year, and prior to that, I mean, you're looking at when was the last time we were at these prices? Probably, yeah, 2 years ago. So might be something if you guys are considering exploring other markets, whether it's forex, precious metals, stocks and equities. This might be a very opportune time to take some of those stable reserves and go some of them into fiat and looking to buy dips if ever the stock market plunges. I'm not saying to buy right away, but at least to have that on the side, because right now the exchange is amazing. Even the euro right here, the US is above the euro slightly, but it still is, and it looks like it's very bullishly going to be going up even higher. So keep your eye up on that. Excuse me. Keep your eye on that, because you can't ignore the few percentage points that you're getting on these exchanges as well. As for dominance, this is something that I've noticed. We were at 41% with BTCD, and FD went down to as low as 19%. This course is reversing, but one against the other. What I've noticed is stables, which is this third dominance right here, stables basket, has gone up 2 points. So obviously people are getting a bit more skittish. What was really weird is the others, this one right here, which is basically all the other baskets and whatever was left after total was removed. This one right here actually went up from 4.8% to 6.7%. So people are speculating pretty heavily on the shit coins and the up and coming coins. So I think that this probably lends credence to more pain coming around the corner, because 95% of the market is usually wrong, and a lot of money is going into this, too much money going into this with the current market conditions. So that's something that we got to keep an eye for. If you're going to start to speculate into shit coins, don't do it with a good amount of your percentage. Just go small. I mean, you don't have to catch the absolute bottom. Just go small to be able to average down. If this bear does last a year, you want to have enough ammo a year from now to catch the absolute bottom, or to be able to get some of your the average part of your capture not too far off of the bottom, and not just midpoint and then have to wait another year before you can see any kind of profit. So just take that in consideration when you're deploying. Yeah, we already spoke about Atom. I'm just going to show graphically what we spoke about. I mean, this channel has been drawn for a little while. I spoke in margin trades about, this being a logical area for me to short. We were here when I spoke about that. It still looks like it's on a trajectory to hit that right now. And this would be an obvious place so long, but not right now. Right now we're at the mid part of the channel, meaning that it could hit off of this and just go straight down here before going up again. So this is not a place that you want to do anything with Atom, in my opinion. It broke this resistance right here. As soon as it hit that resistance, it went down to hit the bottom of that channel. Right now we're approaching another resistance point, which doesn't mean anything in the past right here, but in locally it did had some significance. So if it hits right here around this area of the channel, I think this could be pretty obvious short area, although for me it'll be too volatile on such a strong asset. I much prefer shorting it up here and longing it down here once it's hit this already. So that's the play on Atom. These are the entries that I gave on spot. well above that right now, and still sitting pretty. So I'm just going to wait on this right now. My take profit areas are a lot higher. If obviously we break this channel, I'm going to have to revise that. And by break, I mean break and go down lower below probably this area right here. So if ever that happens, I'll signal and maybe get out of spot and just sit on my hands a while. For Doge, in the bottom of that channel right here, that's why I took that long on margin. I'm testing out the MEXC engine right now. So far, I mean, I gotta say it's been fantastic. When Bybit came out, I was one of the first ones that in the dojo that was on that platform, and I was playing around with it, and I got wicked out like crazy at the beginning. As they were looking for volatility, I've got to say that has not happened on MEXC. It's been extremely smooth PA, and we were pretty much in the same area of the cycle as we were last time when I started experimenting with leverage and got wicked out on Bybit. So I mean, so far so good. It's been really, really good. I'd say if you want to try it, I mean, it looks pretty good. They don't have KYCs, 20 BTC per day, withdrawal limit. If you're withdrawing 20 BTC a day, well, you're doing pretty well. But MEXC is actually a pretty good experience so far. The only thing I don't like is you've got to look for OI. It's not on your dashboard right away. So you've got to do some research before knowing if you're opening with or against open interest. So that's one thing. The only drawback. If you're gonna play small though, because I don't think I agree with everybody else that's spoken so far. I think we're going into a high volatility, especially on the short time frame period. So we're going to see a lot of people getting shaken out. So you want to make sure that you're able to play with loose stops, and if ever they do get run, it doesn't hurt all that much. H bar, I did a spot call. I mean, this is where we bought. We're below it right now. I also drew this trend. This might be a possibility. If we hit the bottom here and go back up, great. If we keep on just going down and slowly bleeding, then no bueno. And I'm going to put up something probably to cut the position, which would really suck because H bar is at a really historically nice spot right now. I don't have the right exchange, but we're pretty much at the lows that it had at the beginning of the structure right here. I don't know why I've got this one up. Don't want to look for it for now, but if you look at the price history, we're pretty much at the bottoms, not the complete bottoms, which were around, I think, 2 cents. But this one right here was held for a long time before that. Solana, yeah, Golden Pocket. This is something I spoke about in the dojo. I think we were actually on the rise right here. I was saying if this right here actually resolves itself, I think we could break out of this. Getting the bottom part where this green line is probably a good buy. I hope whoever I was spoken to did buy at this point, because right now we're a little bit higher. Obviously, we're talking 75 cents on 30, so that's not even, what is that, 2%. So it's not much, but at least this seems to be the safe area to buy. If it gives the second dip right here, I think I might actually long this on leverage with an easy invalidation. So I agree with Cardi and everybody else. I like Solana. I think it's not spoken of enough. There's still a lot of developers on that. The hackathons are huge on Solana. So this is definitely something I'm not going to sleep on.
Chris, did you see that Ethereum Solana chart that I posted in Margin Trades for like a potential pair trade? Because that still looks pretty bad, and it makes sense, right? Like timing wise, that into the merge, like that you would expect Solana becoming stronger again rather after that catalyst than before.
Yeah.
Like if you can bring up, like if you do FUSD versus Sol USD, for example.
Or did you want to do the inverse of that?
No, it doesn't matter. Just go into daily though.
Daily.
Because maybe I did want to do the, wait, what? Why is that? Why does it look so different from what I?
You probably have
Oh yeah,
this.
thank you. Yeah, that's
No problem.
that's the one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, the FUSD is leading. That okay. So this looks a little bit better than the other day, right? Like this could end up being like just looking at the chart. This could end up being a bear trap if it reclaims that low that it lost there.
Yeah.
I still see that inefficiency on the left though. That's pretty glaring. But it looks a little bit less clear. Like either this is the great entry for that short to down there now that it retests the level basically. Or if it reclaims, then maybe Solana against all odds or against public opinion becomes stronger earlier than anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's maybe that's useful to your idea too.
Yeah, I kind of like this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put an alert right here to see if it crosses it again.
Yeah, if it breaks down again, then it probably travels further down.
Yeah.
Other than that, I agree with all you guys. Like FA thoughts on it.
And just the fact that so many people hate it makes me like it even more. And there's no real reason to hate it. I mean, there's a lot of narratives for anything right now. If you really want to hate something, you'll find it. But
yes.
Yeah,
there's a good reason to hate anything in crypto.
Exactly. All right. Outside of funny anecdote, because someone mentioned DAG earlier on. I think it was KJ. Jorgensen started tweeting again. I think they need money.
Is he tweeting about price again?
Yeah, he's tweeting about, it's gonna have its day, the blockchains that develop, blah blah blah. I mean, he'd been pretty quiet. I've been looking at them because I wanna see. DAG can pump. It definitely can pump, and it can pump against the market too. So I've always kept it on my radar, even though I'm zero involved with them anymore. But
same here.
Yeah. But yeah, I
was pretty sad that I missed those lows. We talked about that before because I also had my GAN fans like look similar to yours, and it hit like mine was in a place where it pretty much hit on the nose, and I had an alert basically since we sold at the top.
Yeah.
And then when it came, I didn't end up pulling the trigger, and I was pretty sad about that. Which was it wasn't easy to like buy anything at the capitulation lows.
Yeah.
But if you have charts that you charted so well and you know so well, and those alerts hit, that's like a very, very helpful crutch to help you through that situation, and just buy some, right? Because you waited so long for that to happen. So yeah, that second dive down there, that's when the alerts hit, and that was obviously the low before the bear rally or the current rally. I don't like the whole bear rally idea, but yeah. Makes that level made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that if it goes down below 5, there's going to be enough maxis, enough money that is going to get back in to at least make a short scalp really really worth it, because I think this level gets bought up like crazy.
Yeah, that was slightly below.
Yeah.
Now that we hit it once, maybe you run it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in a alert.
Oh, down there though. Yeah, that makes sense. That would run the current low. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'd like that. If we get this alert, then we'll definitely look at it. I think we'll have time to accumulate some there. As most of the people that usually buy this stuff are going to become apathetic or too fearful to do so. So,
And I still want to point, like we talked about this before, like a month ago. Structurally, the deck chart, I mean, disregarding all the in the background stuff on it, the deck chart structurally looks better than other layer ones, in my opinion.
It does.
It looks both more ready and more healthy than some other stuff out there.
Yeah. And this is just being very clearly unbiased, because to be honest, I really don't like the team. I don't think it's an effective team. I think that their product is probably a good idea, although it's got a whole bunch of holes in it. But structurally, this is beautiful. I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, the most complete crash cycle out there at the moment.
Yeah.
You could even argue that now the reflation trade is done. Um, you could you would also say that it was a relatively weak reflation trade, but it looks like a bit. It looks a bit similar to BTC 2019, where the bear market's done, it does the final capitulation there, then grinds up and then gets that push up. Although that was much weaker so far, and it looks finished now than what BTC had back then with the 14K push.
Yeah.
But the rest, like aside from that weak reflation trade, the rest looks very similar and very complete, in my opinion. So now you would get a longer time of sideways, up and down, and blind shakeouts, similar to 2019, if you know, gun to my head, and then eventually it's ready again and is reaccumulated for a market maker to mark it up.
Yeah. So
or just let me rephrase that, for the market to mark it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to put that image in people's head too much. Although on stuff like RSR, we talked about the market maker a lot, and I think it was very valid. Like how they like con up the market over a long period of time, and then just set it up for that mega markup.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about in this area is just this silent one right here. Monero.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've been super strong most of this year. I mean, talking about since May, I mean, it had this motion right there, but since the early part of the summer, just been slowly creeping up against BTC and even against USD. Not that bad looking. I mean, it's not looking as good, but if ever it regains this MA right here, I think it keeps on going, which is something that Monero's known to do during bear cycles. That actually performs fairly well as people, you know, look for alternatives, look for ways to hide them as governments become more hostile. I mean, every time we get into a bull market, governments, you know, just add the nails to the coffins by being more hostile. So
bear market, right?
Yeah, exactly. Did I say bull?
Yeah,
oh,
I think
sorry.
so. Maybe you also just mumbled a bit.
Yeah, it's possible. You know, old age and shit. So
Canadian accent and all.
Yeah. Hey. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the crypto section. Apart from that,
one thing regarding Monero, a couple of weeks ago, I know I keep interfering and dragging out the call. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Don't worry.
So we saw this like tiny narrative with these X7 tokens, which are like decentralization focused DEX and like in the making, allegedly. And that was on low volume and all that, but I think that the narrative is very suiting and attractive at the moment, and I think that's also one of the like reasons that Monero is doing well. Although Monero doesn't have that DeFi component, right?
Yeah.
But it has the privacy thing, and a couple of weeks ago I brought up Xano again, and now looking how Monero performs, Xano actually like. They market themselves as like a proof of stake in Monero, kind of. And from way back when I originally like read these research papers on them, I still remember that they were actually working on a platform like they wanted like, you know, smart contract compatibility and become the new Silk Road, basically. Like a real dark market. So maybe Xano could also in the future be an interesting narrative again, an interesting play. It's super small, but the fact that they haven't stopped and are continuously building and that they still exist could be like worth a look for another cycle. Yeah. So that's my Xano show. I don't own any at the moment, but and it never really took off like in a big way. Like Xano had like an okay cycle with like, you know, some multipliers in there for a short while, but it never like, you know, really gained mainstream attention. But with the current ingredients, maybe that's something worth looking at.
Yeah, definitely. Last thing I want to check with this parabolic thing with looking at the RSI. I just think that regardless of this parabolic tool, whether people like it or not, having this view with while watching the RSI right here is actually pretty practical. And unfortunately, it's not. Although it did bounce, just like I had some squiggles. I did exactly that, and it did bounce off of that. It unfortunately did not continue it. The only other time in history where it bounced twice and then came back to solicit it again was here. And unfortunately, that was just before a huge dump right there, which went a bit lower, actually would break lower than where we are right now on this parabola. So, whether this is meaningful or not, it doesn't really matter. The RSI usually is. So I would hate to see it get bottomed out right here again, because with the volume, which is clearly very low, and momentum that it's got right now, we're talking about probably even breaking this this parabola, if you want to call it that, and hitting these levels right here, which would be around 11,000 on BTC, which would really suck for the market and make it really scary for even a longer period of time. So anyways, let's see what happens. Hopefully it just zigzags back up from here, but we'll see, or at least goes sideways like it did right here for a little while. Stables, don't need to talk about this. I mean, everybody's covered this so far. Yeah, precious metals. I mean, gold, although it seems to be hugging this trend right here, I would still postulate that it's possible to get it down to here. I spoke about this. I mean, I don't want to make a long thesis on how I think they're going to prevent people from getting into gold and silver if ever there's a fiat collapse. But if ever there is something that happens with the monetary system that makes it so that gold becomes extremely valuable, gold and silver, I don't think they're going to be able to do that with price suppression as they're doing right now, especially with silver. I think that they're just going to make this extremely uninteresting to make people think twice about buying some or even owning it outright, and push it down to these areas or lower. I mean, once again, we're talking about conspiracies, blah, blah, blah. But no, I don't think this is conspiracy. I think this is just sound monetary policy. If you're a government, you want to make sure that most of your population is following you, whether it's into the sewage or not, and not getting out of it. Right here, this was a buy long area for silver. I had mentioned that before. I'm still not buying right now. I'm just waiting to see what happens as we go around the November area. So in November, if this is hit this area, I'm probably going to be buying more. We're talking about COVID lows right here, but we'll see. And last thing was ASTS. I was waiting to get into this area to buy. ASTS is looking like there's still a lot of people selling it off, which is great. There's no real reason to sell it off yet, in my opinion, apart from the fact that it went up just too quickly. So I'm going to still be looking at buying around this area, with Tesla still just being, near the stock split. It still went down below. What I like is now how the way that it kept its price structure over time. So stock split happened right here. We are still below. I think that this is just going to bounce back up. Tesla's still a very, very bullish company. And that's it for my segment.
We made it to the end.
Yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Jesus.
We had a little bit of everything in here.
Yeah. So
no questions, please.
Yeah, if there's anything, just ping us and we'll answer it ad hoc.
Mouse Dog also has it. Like he says bye bye. Thanks for the call. That's good. Cool. Yeah, Labor Day weekend. We wanted to keep it short and do another one tomorrow, but no, that's not happening anymore.
We actually broke the record for this year. So.
And I think that participation, I'm not sure. And I think last week was the lowest participation. Maybe this week was a little bit more.
It was actually still, at the highs.
It's still very, very low. Which is just in terms of the whole apathy idea. Our memberships obviously went down a bit over like the bear unfolding, but we're still like 100 something members, and we probably had a little bit more. We had like maybe 15 people in the call here.
Yeah, we went up to
Last
19 at the
19.
peak. Yeah.
Last week it was probably more around 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's happening. Like, the crypto native people that are still, having Dojo memberships and paying them and renewing them, even them, they are not exactly inclined to tune in every week. I mean, probably like some of them always just listen to the recording because the time just doesn't work. But we definitely could see a decline in participation over the past months, like big time.
Yeah, which usually denotes either beginning a bottom or at least continuing it. So
yeah, like we are some ways into it at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look.
Okay.
If you're in North America, have a great Labor Day weekend. I'll be on Monday, even though we're off. So.
Yeah, if you're European, I'll see you out in the woods chopping firewood for the winter.
Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.